The G8 summit saw the world's richest economies promise to be tougher on fighting tax evasion and money laundering, but there was no pledge to create registers of who really owns and profits from companies and trusts to make sure that they pay tax and aren't fronts for criminals. Host David Cameron also said that they are working on promoting growth. The leaders' post-summit statement was also upbeat on the global economy, saying the worst of the crisis has passed, and while the economic outlook is subdued, risks have abated. Talks on the trade deal between the US and the European Union will start next month, but agreement is likely years away.
And with that exceptional news, we are back again with the most shocking special that we've had to date. Actually, that's not true.
It's not that shocking.
Well, it's kind of shocking to me. The story that we've got lined up is amazing. I'm Darren Howard.
I'm Robert Nisbet.
We have gone through thousands of hours of lamestream news to get those few nuggets of truth to fill in the major story on relevant news. You're tuned into Video Radio and Radio Free Canada. Now check this out.
According to news reports sweeping British media, the fronts of derelict shops throughout Belcoo, a northern Irish border town of some 500 residents not far from the G8 site, have been plastered over with posters to make shuttered butcher shops and pharmacies look like thriving businesses.
Most people recognise that we do have issues of dereliction in many parts of the north. That's why over a year ago I began to roll out a programme that tackles issues of decay and dereliction. And part of that strategy is to improve the appearance of streets and shop fronts. That's a good idea because that builds confidence, helps local traders, and says to people that whatever our difficulties are, and we don't deny them, we can do things to make things better.
Northern Ireland was a virtual war zone for decades, and in recent years has struggled to re-establish itself in the face of the collapse of the Celtic Tiger economy and ongoing deep unemployment. Belcoo residents said that spending $500,000 to simulate successful small businesses was insulting.
It's just covering over the cracks. It's presenting an image, trying to make things look better than they are, but perversely, it has highlighted the problem, and so maybe that's a good thing. So now everybody knows that we have empty shops. Everybody knows that things are not as good as they're supposed to be. So maybe that will make the government do something real.
Syria and the European economy are at the top of the G8 agenda. Residents of Potemkin Village hope their own economy will get some help for real.
Of course, there's that end-all and be-all. Just cover up the problem and it will go away.
Seems like a perfect metaphor for what actually goes on at these G8 meetings.
Yeah, it's one great big hype. You know, it costs them hundreds of millions of dollars to provide security while they do nothing. It's sort of like the Senate right here in Canada.
Yeah.
Okay? Fake storefronts, and that is the legacy of the banking system today. The G8 is under our focus. This is Radio Free Canada, and what do you got?
I got some more on what they failed to deliver on at the G8.
Yeah, what they failed to deliver on. Boy, you could fill a warehouse with that one. You're tuned in.
For a long time, poverty campaigners have accused the G8 of either indifference or ineptitude in tackling the world's big problems. But there has been at least some acknowledgement here that they're taking the first tentative steps towards helping the vast majority of the world by making the world's richest and most powerful pay their dues. On avoidance, campaigners had demanded new laws which would prevent multinationals from moving to different jurisdictions to avoid paying vast amounts of corporation tax. On evasion, the aim is more transparency from tax havens like Bermuda and others where tens of billions are hidden. Outside shoring up government budgets in the West, part of the aim is to create more revenue for the developing world. Countries like Zambia are being milked for their mineral wealth, while they complain the mining companies have found ways of avoiding improving lives through tax. And just as the G8 here was sounding so happy with itself, the parliament in Switzerland, well known as a tax haven, announced that it was going to block legislation which would have allowed American authorities to investigate illegal tax evasion by a number of Western and Swiss banks. The measures announced here didn't go far enough for campaigning groups, and it would take years to implement genuine change. But as the G8 ends, there appears at least to be some political will to force money from the very richest into the system, which would benefit the lives of the many. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera, at the G8 summit in Northern Ireland.
So as we celebrate our 3rd anniversary of Toronto,
Oh, yes.
okay, and you guys remember that, Into the Fire is where you want to go to start checking out the crimes against the Canadian citizens during one of these G seminars. And, of course, we've got Harper wandering around acting like a world leader.
Yeah. And I like the way they stated there's the appearance of a political will to make tax dodgers pay.
Yeah, but you think that's ever going to go through? They're allowing it to start with.
It's like the facades in Belcoo. It's just an appearance.
Right. And so now let's take a look at the international thing. Okay. Syria. It's a really big story.
Of course. Over 900,000 people have died.
Okay. You've got 4 million refugees in the local area right now. It's turning into a catastrophic situation. But check this out.
In the bucolic surroundings of rural Northern Ireland, some of the world's most powerful leaders spent 24 hours working on some of the world's toughest issues. On British Prime Minister David Cameron's key priorities, taxes, trade, and transparency, they made some progress. But it was not all smiles on Syria, and that is a cause for concern. Prime Minister Cameron acknowledged that the effort to convene another Syria peace conference ran into problems.
It's no secret that there were very different views around the G8 table. But we all share a vital interest in bringing this conflict to an end and helping the Syrian people to achieve the change they want.
The difficulty was that after meetings with Mr. Cameron and U.S. President Barack Obama, Russian President Vladimir Putin had not changed his opposition to Western leaders' support for the Syrian rebels or their demand for President Bashar al-Assad to leave office. These summits provide an opportunity for key world leaders to talk directly about major issues and a deadline of sorts for action on some of them. But the leaders' diverse interests and political needs often make agreement difficult, particularly on non-economic issues, and most particularly when Russian interests diverge from those of the other G8 members. Al Pessin, VOA News, London.
Now, did you notice that Harper's really put on a lot of weight?
Yeah, I know.
I hate to be superficial, and I hate to kind of point out the fact that he's starting to become a fat butt out of the deal. But, I mean, yes.
Well, he is representing us on the world stage, and must present the fit Canadian, or not.
Or not. And then, talking about our economy. We've got a blog coming up talking about what he had to say about the economy. But the Irish Parliament...
They had a real parliamentarian, a real politician out there saying what was on her mind.
Taoiseach, I think it's important to take this opportunity to bring a bit of balance into the discussions around the visit of the US President and his wife, given the almost unprecedented slobbering over them that the nation has been exposed to over the last number of days. And it's really hard to know which is worse, whether it's the outpourings of the Obamas themselves or the sycophantic fawning over them by sections of the media and the political establishment. We've had separate and special news bulletins by the state broadcaster to tell us what Michelle Obama and her daughters had for lunch in Dublin, but very little questioning of the fact that she was having lunch with Mr. Tax Exile himself. And of course, the biggest irony of all, the protestations of Obama himself in his speech to the children in Northern Ireland about peace, when he said, "Those who choose a path of peace, I promise you that the United States of America will support you every step of the way. We will be the wind at your back." Now I ask you, is this person going for the Hypocrite of the Century award? Because we have to call things by their right names. And the reality is that by any serious examination, this man is a war criminal. He has just announced his decision to supply arms to the Syrian opposition, including the jihadists, fueling the destabilisation of that region and continuing to undermine secularism and knock back conditions for women. This is the man who is in essence stalling the Geneva peace talks by trying to broker enhanced leverage for the Syrian opposition by giving them arms, and to hell with the thousands more who lose their lives, or the tens of thousands more who will be displaced as this war goes on. This is the man who has facilitated a 200% increase in the use of drones, which have killed thousands of people, including hundreds of children. And you, Taoiseach, You are the one who's turned a blind eye on these activities. You've talked about the G8 being an opportunity to showcase Ireland. But is it not a reality that you have showcased us as a nation of pimps, prostituting ourselves in return for a pat on the head?
We have to get her in our parliament.
Oh, yes.
I mean, we need to get that person elected in Canada to stand up and
now,
say, hey.
There's a politician I can respect.
Okay, yeah, stands up, says it straight out. And, just highlighting the fact that Harper, Obama support a Muslim extremist when they're undermining a non-banking interest.
And don't forget the official government of Syria is actually winning the war against the rebels.
I mean, and you're supposed to support democracy and indigenous rights. That one's out the door because, of course, we've got Obama in action over there. I want to run one real quick here. Can we get this one in?
Yeah, this is just an attitude piece, but I love it.
Look, the real purpose of these meetings is to promote the prosperity of the rich countries involved under the guise of international philanthropy. Okay, so baseless rhetoric and empty promises aside, these conferences cost a huge amount to taxpayers, and their price tag increases significantly by the year. This year, the G8 costs $75 million. Wait for it. For security alone, $75 million. My God. A police presence all too reminiscent of a time where this town was occupied in the apartheid state of Northern Ireland. A fact that the UK government has made a strong effort to distract from. Yet you would think that at the very least, hosting such a high-profile event would be good for the local economy. Well, that hasn't exactly been the case. See, instead of actually using government funds to promote growth within Northern Ireland's already devastated economy, where 1 in 4 are out of work, taxpayer cash was used only to make it appear as though economic growth had already occurred. $1.3 million of public funds were used to fluff up the city, literally painting fake facades on thriving businesses on the side of more than 100 empty, dilapidated buildings. Interestingly, all of this serves as a metaphor for what the G8 really is. A group of power-hungry, inefficient, and secretive figureheads who do nothing more than advance their own agenda while operating under the guise of solving the world's problems.
Talking about saying it straight out.
Oh, yeah. Abby really does tend to say what's on her mind.
Yeah, I know. We're going to be saying what's on our mind because we're getting ready to go out. We're spending the next couple of months promoting us going in and sharing some of our adult attitude and a little politically incorrectness for the general attitude of the audiences out there. Because, well, hey, we're not going to be on the radio all the time, and we got to get the real feedback.
And we got to take part in the global insurrection.
Yes, it's part of us. We actually get out in the streets that are, as opposed to some local activists that are idle some more. And, it kind of makes me laugh because we're lighting a fire underneath some local activists to actually get out in the street and do something.
Yeah, we may have a day of action.
We might have a day of action. So we're going to take our video cameras downtown. But remember, if you've got some action going on, if you're out doing something to save the planet or to stop consumerism or to do anything to really get this train going on back on the right rail, give us a shout. Get in touch with us. Box 20013, Kelowna, BC, V1Y9, Henry 2. Address it to me, Darren Howard, or to Guerrilla Radio Design. You're going to get a direct mail to us, or you can contact us at radiofreemedia@gmail.com.
That's right.
Okay, so coming up, we're going to be talking about
the global insurrection against bankster occupation.
It seems that people are out protesting once again, and we're going to be a part of them. Remember to find out where you can stand up against the nonsense that's going on. Major protest about water and water rights coming up in Kelowna on Sunday, and we're going to be reporting that. We're recording this on Friday, June the 28th, 2013. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
I actually got the date in again. I can't believe that. It's like official now.
Keep practicing. You'll get really good at it.
Yeah, I know. We're urging you to start your own radio station because you don't want to listen to us all the time. And remember, we don't make commercials saying, trust us. We don't have to. You're tuned in to Video Radio with Radio Free Canada.